No one thought the boy would smile again. Liam had been quiet for weeks, lying in that hospital bed with casts on both legs and a deep scar running across his forehead. The accident had stolen more than just his ability to walk. It had taken his laughter, his spark. And then Rex walked in. He wasn't like the therapy dogs the hospital usually brought in, gentle, fluffy, harmless. Rex was lean, scarred, and serious. A retired canine with eyes that had seen too much. He didn't wag his tail. He didn't bark. He just stood there, staring at the boy with a look that stopped everyone in the room. Liam turned his head slowly and blinked. "Who's that?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "That's Rex," said Nurse Carla, unsure. "He used to work with the police. He's special." Rex stepped forward without waiting for permission. He moved to Liam's bedside, lowered his head, and let out a low sigh, almost like relief. And then he lay down. Not at the door, not in the corner, but right beside the bed, pressing his body close to the metal frame like he was guarding something precious. Liam blinked again. "He's staying?" Carla looked at the handler, who gave a small nod. "If he wants to. Sometimes he picks a person." From that moment on, Rex didn't leave. Not for meals, not for walks. When nurses came to adjust Liam's IV or check his vitals, Rex would lift his head, watch their every move, and let out a quiet growl if they got too close. "He's protective," one nurse muttered nervously. "He's doing his job," Carla corrected gently. At first, Liam didn't talk much, but when Rex licked his hand on the third night, something broke inside the boy. He giggled, for the first time since the crash, and everyone in the room froze. "Did you hear that?" his mother whispered. He laughed. Rex's tail thumped, once against the floor. Then he laid his head across Liam's legs like he belonged there. By the end of the week, Liam was talking to Rex constantly, telling him stories, asking him questions, whispering things no one else could hear. "Do you think the car crash was my fault?" Liam asked one night, eyes wet. Rex didn't answer, of course, but he sat up, placed one paw gently on the boy's arm, and stared into his eyes like he understood every word. "Yeah," Liam sniffled. "Didn't think so." Doctors and nurses began to notice something strange. Liam's heart rate was steadier when Rex was in the room. His nightmares stopped. He started eating again. When the physical therapist came in to help him sit up, Rex walked beside the wheelchair like he was trained for this job too. "Is this dog reading my mind?" the therapist joked. "I think he's reading his heart," Clara said, tears in her eyes. But the connection between them wasn't just comfort. It was deeper. Rex started growling again, more often now. Not at people, but at the bed itself, especially at night. Low, warning growls that sent chills down Clara's spine. "What's wrong, boy?" Liam would whisper. "Why are you mad at the bed?" One night, Rex bit the bed frame. Not hard, but hard enough to make a loud metal clang echo through the room. The nurse rushed in, thinking Liam had fallen. Instead, she saw Rex standing over the bed, stiff, alert, and his teeth still wrapped around the cold steel. "Something's not right," she murmured. "He's never done that before." Rex growled again, deep and steady. The next morning, Liam had a nosebleed that wouldn't stop. Doctors checked everything, scans, blood pressure, heart rate, but nothing showed up. Still, Rex wouldn't calm down. He kept pacing around the bed, occasionally stopping to stare at a spot on the floor near the wall. "He knows something," Clara said, voice shaking. "I don't know how, but he knows." No one wanted to admit it, but they were starting to believe her. Rex wasn't just a comfort animal. He wasn't just a protector. From the moment he met Liam, it was like something inside him clicked. Like this was his new mission, not ordered by a handler, not for a badge, but for a boy who had lost too much too soon. And Rex wasn't about to lose him too. The hospital room was quiet again, but the tension hung in the air like fog. After Rex bit the bed frame that night, no one knew what to think. Liam had fallen asleep, unaware of the worried looks exchanged between his mother and the nurse. But the next night, things got stranger. Rex started pacing as soon as the lights went off. His nails tapped against the tile floor, back and forth, back and forth. He would pause near the wall closest to Liam's head and stare, unmoving, ears up, breathing sharp. Then he growled, not a warning growl, It was low, deep, like something was there, and he didn't like it. "Rex?" Clara whispered, sitting up from the chair beside the bed. "What is it, boy?" Rex didn't look at her. His eyes stayed fixed on the wall. Suddenly he turned and snapped at the air. Once, twice, like he was biting something invisible. "Did you see that?" the night nurse said, stepping back. He's attacking nothing." Clara nodded slowly. "He sees something we don't." The nurse shook her head. "He's probably just having a flashback. PTSD, right? He's a retired K9. Maybe the dark triggers it." But Clara wasn't convinced. Neither was Rex. He started growling more each night, always at the same wall, always when the lights went out, and then came the second bite. This time not at the steel, but the wood. Rex lunged and bit the wooden slats beneath the bed. Hard. It made a loud cracking sound. Liam sat up with a jolt. "What's going on?" he asked, rubbing his eyes. Rex stood frozen, mouth open, teeth bared. His whole body trembled, not from fear, but from something deeper. Urgency. "He's scared," Clara whispered, moving toward him. She knelt beside the dog, slowly wrapped her arms around his head and held him. "It's okay, Rex. You're safe. Nothing's gonna hurt you here." But Rex didn't relax. His chest was heaving. His eyes, once so steady, now looked wild. Not like he was ready to fight, but like he was begging her to see what he felt. "Mom, is Rex okay?" Liam asked, voice small. Clara didn't answer right away. She pressed her face to Rex's fur. It was warm, trembling slightly. Then she whispered, "He's trying to tell us something." Rex let out a soft whine. Not loud, just enough for her to hear. Like he was relieved someone finally understood. The doctors brushed it off. They called it trauma. One even said, "He's too old to be around patients. These episodes happen sometimes. It's nothing." But Clara knew better. Rex wasn't acting out. He was reacting. To what, though? The janitor, Mr. Ellis, an older man with kind eyes, overheard the talk the next morning. "I heard your dog's been biting at the bed," he said gently. "Want me to check under it? Maybe something's loose or weird." Clara nodded. "Please, anything." Later that day, Ellis returned, looking puzzled. "There were scratches under the wood," he said, "like something was clawing from inside the frame. I've worked here 20 years. Never seen that." Clara's stomach turned. "You mean, like from an animal?" "Nope," Ellis said. "Not from the outside. It was like something inside the wood was trying to get out." That night, Rex didn't sleep. He sat by the wall again, growling softly. Liam was breathing heavily in his sleep, his brow sweating. Clara looked between the two and felt her throat tighten. "Whatever's going on," she whispered, "you're the only one who sees it, aren't you, Rex?" The dog didn't move, didn't blink, just kept staring. The air felt colder somehow, heavy, and deep down, Clara knew. This wasn't just about trauma. Something was wrong. Clara barely slept after that night. Rex hadn't moved from the same spot near the wall, and Liam had tossed and turned for hours. Something about the room felt wrong. She didn't know what it was, but Rex did. He hadn't stopped growling since sunset. The next morning, Mr. Ellis, the janitor, came back with a flashlight and a small crowbar. "I know I'm not supposed to mess with walls," he said softly, "but your dog keeps looking like he wants to tear through it himself." Clara nodded. "Be careful. Just see what's back there." Ellis got down on his knees and inspected the area beneath the bed, right where Rex had been growling. He ran his fingers along the edge of the wall and paused. "Scratch marks," he muttered. "Deep ones, and gnawing, like teeth marks." Clara leaned in. "What kind of animal does that?" Ellis shook his head. "Doesn't look fresh, but it's strange. They're not just on the surface. They go in, like something was trying to get through." Clara's stomach dropped. "From inside the wall?" "Could be rodents," he offered. "Or, I don't know, mold. Vents, maybe. Still weird." When the doctor came in, she told him everything. The scratches, the noise, Rex's growling, but he waved it off. "Old buildings creak. Dogs sense all kinds of harmless things. Probably airflow. Let's focus on Liam." But Rex didn't stop. Later that night, the growling returned. Louder this time. Then came the barking. Sharp, urgent, non-stop. Clara sat up fast. "Rex, what is it?" Rex lunged again. this time biting the wooden frame so hard it splintered. He barked at the wall over and over, spinning in tight circles, snapping at nothing. Liam woke, up gasping. His eyes rolled back. His limbs started to shake violently. "Liam!" Clara screamed. "Liam!" Nurses ran in as alarms blared. The bed shook under the boy's body. Rex barked wildly, refusing to leave, even as staff tried to pull him back. Clara clutched her son's hand. "Hold on, baby. Please." The seizure lasted longer than anyone expected. When it was over, Liam lay still, breathing shallow, sweat soaking his pillow. The room went silent, except for Rex's trembling growl. "He knew," Clara whispered, voice cracking. "He knew something was coming." No one argued this time. The doctors ordered a full body scan the next morning, just to be safe. Clara waited outside the radiology room. Rex curled at her feet, tail unmoving. His eyes were fixed straight ahead. It took over an hour before the doctor returned. His face looked pale. "We found something," he said quietly. "There's an area near Liam's lower spine. Small hemorrhage. It was hidden behind scar tissue, but it's been there." Clara blinked. "You missed it?" "It's deep," he said. "Rare to catch unless symptoms are obvious. If Rex hadn't triggered concern, we wouldn't have found it until it was too late." Tears filled Clara's eyes. He wasn't barking at the wall. He was barking at what was hurting Liam. Later that day, a small team was sent to inspect the wall, just in case. When they removed a square panel, something odd fell out. An old piece of insulation, soaked in moisture and covered in thick black mold, hidden deep behind the wall. One of the workers backed away. "That's toxic stuff. Can mess with the nervous system." Another added, "He's been sleeping right beside it for weeks." The room fell silent. "Two threats," Clara whispered, kneeling to pet Rex. "One inside him, and one inside the wall. And you caught both." Rex licked her hand, finally calm for the first time in days. But that peace didn't last long. That night, after the room had been cleaned and sealed, Rex stood again. Not growling, not barking, just staring, right at the wall next to the one they'd opened. Clara followed his gaze, heart sinking. "What is it now, Rex?" she asked quietly. "What else are we missing?" The room smelled cleaner now. The mold had been cleared, the wall patched. But Clara still felt uneasy, and Rex hadn't stopped watching. The scan results haunted her. The words echoed in her mind. Small hemorrhage near the spine, hidden, could have gone into a coma. It didn't seem real. For weeks, the doctors had treated the accident injuries like they were everything, but they had missed this. All of them, except Rex. A nurse had pulled Clara aside that morning, her voice low and shaken. "I shouldn't say this, but if your dog hadn't caused such a scene that night, they wouldn't have ordered those scans. It's scary to think. He might have saved your son's life." Clara clutched the nurse's hand. He did save him. Everyone started treating Rex differently after that. The once skeptical staff now called him the four-legged doctor. He was allowed in restricted areas. Some nurses left treats at the desk. Even the chief surgeon gave him a small salute in the hallway. Rex didn't care about the attention. He stayed close to Liam, always at the foot of the bed. But Clara noticed something strange. During the day, Rex was calm, watchful, but still. It was only at night that everything changed. He would pace, sometimes growl, and always stare at the far wall. Not the one with the mold, the other one. Clara sat next to him one evening, after Liam had fallen asleep. She whispered, "You're not scared of the wall, are you, Rex?" Rex let out a low huff, but didn't move. "You're not watching the room. You're watching him." She turned to look at Liam, breathing slowly, chest rising and falling. Peaceful, but under the surface. Was something still wrong? The doctor had explained the hemorrhage was likely a delayed effect of the accident, a hidden injury, buried under swelling. But Clara couldn't shake a feeling. What if it wasn't just the crash? She whispered. That night, Rex did something he hadn't done before. As the lights dimmed and the machines beeped softly, he stood up, walked to Liam's head, and pressed his nose to the boy's temple. Then he whined. Clara leaned forward. "What is it, boy?" Rex turned his head sharply to the left and growled. At the wall again. But this time, it wasn't just any growl. It was sharp, angry, urgent. He pawed at the floor near Liam's head, let out a bark, and looked up at Clara with wide, frantic eyes. She called the nurse immediately. "I know it." "Sounds crazy," Clara said, "but he's reacting to something again. Maybe something's still wrong." The nurse gave her a tired look. "We ran the full scan. There's nothing else. Maybe he's just on edge." "No," Clara said firmly. "He's trying to warn us again. Look at him." The nurse glanced down. Rex was circling, pacing tightly near Liam's pillow, tail stiff, muscles tense. The nurse hesitated, then sighed. "I'll tell the doctor." They scheduled another MRI. The following afternoon, the radiologist came out holding a new scan in his hand. His face was pale. "There's a second bleed," he said quietly, "smaller than the first, near the base of the skull. We almost missed it." Again. Clara's knees buckled. She gripped the wall. "You told me he was fine." The doctor shook his head. "We thought he was. But Rex, he knew." Later that evening, Clara sat in the hospital garden, with Rex by her feet. She looked into his eyes. "How do you know, Rex?" she whispered. "Why you? Why Liam?" Rex didn't bark. He just laid his head on her lap, heavy and tired. But when the sun set and the shadows returned, so did the growl. Not loud, just deep and steady. And Clara realized, whatever Rex was sensing, it still wasn't over. Clara couldn't sleep. Not with that second bleed so close to Liam's brainstem. Not with Rex still growling softly every time the lights went out. The doctors were trying, but it felt like they were always a step behind. And Rex was always ahead. She sat in the hospital library that morning, flipping through old newspapers and digital reports. She had asked the front desk for Rex's records. It wasn't easy, but one of the younger nurses helped her find the archived case notes from the precinct, where Rex had served as a K-9. What she found sent chills down her spine. Case after case. Rex had been involved in searches. Yes, but not just for weapons or drugs. He had been used for something darker. Child recovery. Not once, not twice. 3 children. All found in abandoned homes. All locked in basements. All horribly abused. All in total darkness when Rex found them. She stared at the images. Blurred faces, broken stairwells, rusted locks. Each time, Rex had reacted violently near the location, before anyone knew where the child was. He didn't bark randomly. He didn't sniff and move on like other dogs. He fixated, Clara whispered to herself. He wasn't trained just to detect. He feels it. She printed the articles and took them to her car. But one name in the file stuck with her. Officer Mason Burke, retired now. Last known address just 30 minutes away. She didn't hesitate. That afternoon, she knocked on a faded blue door with peeling paint. A tired-looking man opened it, gray beard, eyes heavy. "Officer Burke?" she asked. He looked her over. "Haven't been called that in years." "Who's asking?" "I'm Clara. My son is in the hospital. With Rex." He froze. "Rex?" His voice softened. "He's still alive?" She nodded. "He saved my boy. Twice. But something's not right. He growls every night. He senses things before doctors do. I found his history." Mason stepped aside. "Come in." She followed him into a small living room. Old plaques lined the wall. A framed photo of Rex, younger and alert, sat on the mantel. Mason sat slowly. "He's not like other K-9s. Clara leaned forward. "I read about the kids, the basements, the way he found them." Mason nodded. "They called it luck, but it wasn't. Rex, he didn't just follow sense. He absorbed pain, like it echoed off him," Clara whispered. "What does that even mean?" Mason looked down. "I don't know the science, but I saw it. There was one case. He wouldn't stop whining outside a boarded house. We searched for hours. Nothing. But Rex kept going back, pushed his head against the floor, pawed at the door, like he felt the kids suffering. And he was right?" Clara asked. Mason's eyes welled. "Yeah, boy was locked in the cellar, couldn't make a sound, hadn't eaten in days. Rex found him anyway." Clara held back tears. "He's doing it again, with my son. But Liam's not locked anywhere." "Maybe not," Mason said, "but pain doesn't always come from the outside. Maybe Rex feels what's inside him, what hurts, what's hidden." Clara looked down. He growls at the wall. He paces. The second bleed was where he was staring. Mason nodded slowly. Then trust him. When no one else knew, Rex did. Before she left, Mason gave her a worn photo. It showed Rex sitting beside a rescued girl, her tiny hand resting on his fur. He stayed by her for hours, Mason said. She didn't speak for a week, but she clung to him like he was the only one who understood. Clara took the photo, heart full and aching. Thank you. Back at the hospital, Liam was asleep. Rex stood at the edge of the bed again, head low, tail stiff. His growl had returned, softer now but steady. Clara knelt beside him, pressing her forehead to his. I know now, she whispered. I believe you. We're not done yet, are we? Rex blinked once, then turned his head, not toward Liam this time, but toward the vent near the floor. Just as a soft, cold breeze spilled from it, Clara didn't sleep that night. Not after what Rex had done, not after what she'd learned from Mason. She sat beside Liam's bed, watching Rex as he paced in slow, careful circles. His eyes stayed fixed on one spot, beneath the frame, near the corner leg. He was quieter tonight, but that made it worse. The tension in his body was tight, focused, still growling but barely. Something's still wrong, Clara whispered to herself. Rex suddenly stopped. He walked over to the metal frame, sniffed near the floorboard, then bit the wooden support sharply. A loud crack rang out in the room. That was it. Clara stood up and hit the emergency button. When the nurse arrived, she pointed down. We need to take the bed apart. Right now, the nurse blinked. Take it apart? He's not going to stop until we do, Clara said firmly. Just look at him. The nurse glanced down at Rex. His eyes were locked on the frame like it held something dangerous. His teeth clenched the wood again, not attacking, but pulling, tearing. The nurse sighed. I'll get maintenance. It took another 20 minutes before two men in hospital uniforms wheeled in tools and started unscrewing the base of the bed. One of them grumbled under his breath, Can't believe we're doing this because of a dog. Clara didn't respond. She only watched Rex. As they lifted the bottom panel away, a sharp gasp came from one of the workers. Whoa! What the… They… All leaned in, tucked deep in the hollow of the wooden base, nearly invisible unless someone knew to look, was a thick, dark patch spreading across the bottom beam. It was greenish-black and fuzzy. Mold, one of them muttered. Heavy growth. It's been here a while. Clara's eyes widened. Black mold? Most likely, he said, covering his nose. This stuff can trigger seizures, especially in someone already vulnerable. The second worker grabbed a flashlight, shining it along the base. It's all over under here. You can't smell. It because the wood traps it in. The nurse looked shaken. So, this might have been causing the second bleed? Clara's voice trembled. All this time, we thought it was just the accident. No, the nurse whispered. He didn't. Just saved Liam once. He saved him twice. Clara turned to Rex. He had finally sat down, tail curled, chest rising and falling in heavy breaths. His ears were lowered. He looked tired, not just physically, but like a soldier whose watch hadn't ended yet. She dropped to her knees beside him, wrapping her arms around his thick neck. You did it, she whispered. You knew. You always knew. Rex let out a soft whimper, not of pain, of release. By the next morning, Liam's bed had been replaced. A deep cleaning crew was called. Doctors confirmed that the mold could absolutely have worsened Liam's neurological condition. The headaches, the second bleed, the restless sleep. It was all connected. One of the neurologists said quietly, if that mold had stayed just a few more weeks, we might have lost him. Rex stayed beside Liam all day. He didn't bark, didn't growl, but he also didn't rest completely. He watched, and Clara noticed something strange that evening. Though the room was cleaner and Liam had shown signs of improvement, Rex kept looking toward the air vent again, not with panic, just attention. Clara leaned close and whispered, There's more, isn't there? Rex didn't move. He just blinked slowly, chest rising with a deep breath, and laid his head gently on the floor, right in front of the vent. And for the first time in days, he closed his eyes, but just before sleep took him, he let out a soft, warning growl, the kind that says, Not yet. Stay alert. Clara looked at the vent. Whatever this was, It still wasn't over. The mold was cleared. The bleeding had stopped. Liam's numbers were finally steady. It felt like the storm had passed. Doctors smiled now when they entered the room. Nurses stopped holding their breath. Liam's eyes were brighter. His voice had returned, soft and slow, but full of life. Rex, though, he was different. He still stayed beside Liam every second, but he no longer barked or growled. His movements were slower, his steps careful. Sometimes Clara caught him trembling just from standing too long. "He's getting old," one nurse said gently. "He gave everything he had." Clara nodded, brushing Rex's fur as he laid curled beside Liam's feet. "I know. He's tired." Liam reached out weakly and ran his fingers through Rex's ears. "He still watches me," he whispered, "even when I'm asleep." Rex raised his head at the sound of Liam's voice. His eyes met the boy's, soft, steady and tired. The old dog didn't need to guard anymore, but his heart hadn't let go yet. Clara watched them and smiled, though her heart ached. She saw what Rex was doing. She saw the goodbye in his eyes. On Liam's final night in the hospital, the staff gathered quietly in the hallway. They'd grown attached, not just to the boy who had beaten the odds, but to the silent guardian who never left his side. "Let them have tonight," one doctor said, voice low. "Just the two of them." Inside the room, the lights were dim. Machines beeped quietly. The air felt still, like it knew this moment mattered. Clara kissed Liam's forehead. "Get some sleep, baby. We're going home tomorrow." Liam yawned. "Will Rex come home with us?" She glanced at Rex, curled beside the bed. Of course. She didn't tell him that Rex hadn't eaten all day. She didn't tell him that the vet had warned her. Rex's heart was failing. Quietly, gently, but the dog had refused treatment. He wouldn't leave Liam. Not yet. That night, as the room darkened and Liam drifted into sleep, Rex stood on shaky legs. He took one slow step, then another. His joints creaked with every move. Then, with one final stretch of effort, he climbed into Liam's bed for the very first time. Clara gasped softly but didn't stop him. Rex lay beside Liam, tucking himself gently along the boy's side. Liam stirred, turned toward the warmth, and wrapped one arm around Rex's neck, smiling in his sleep. "Good boy," he mumbled. Rex let out a long, quiet breath. Then he rested his head on Liam's chest and stayed there. The sun was just starting to rise when Clara walked in. Liam was still asleep, peaceful and warm. Rex hadn't moved. She walked closer. "Rex?" she whispered. No response. She reached out, placed her hand gently on his side. No breath, no movement. Her voice broke. "Oh." But there was no panic, no cries, just stillness and peace. Rex had done what no machine could, what no doctor dared promise. He had watched over Liam until he was safe. He had waited for the storm to, pass. And then he let go. The funeral came days later. Nurses came, doctors too. Some officers in uniform stood at the back, hands folded. No one spoke much. They buried Rex in a quiet corner of the hospital garden. A small ceremony, but no dry eyes. Even the janitor wept as he placed a folded flag beside the casket. Later, the hospital installed a plaque in Liam's room. A silver plate, screwed gently into the wall beside the new bed. It read, "Here slept the boy who lived, and the dog who refused to let him die." Liam traced the letters with his fingers weeks later. "I miss him," he whispered. Clara pulled him close. "He never really left. He's in every heartbeat you have now." And just outside the window, as wind brushed the trees, a single leaf fell, slowly, silently, like the final bow of a loyal friend whose watch was finally done. If this story touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who believes in the power of animals. Comment below with, "Thank you, Rex," if you believe heroes come in all forms. Subscribe for more real, emotional animal stories that remind us what love and loyalty truly mean. Because sometimes, the ones who can't speak are the ones who save us the most.